welcome back, friends. If you're new here, my name's Daniel. My wife and I travel full-time in our converted cargo trailer, and today I want to touch on the subject of heating. Now, for those of you who have been following along with our adventures in Colorado, which I'll link up here, you'll have realized that we were struggling with power issues, and part of that was because we were trying to stay warm in the Colorado mountains using our mini split heat pump, which was drawing about 900 to 600 watts of power, which during the winter, that's kind of a no-go on our power setup. So we needed a second way of heating. And like many van lifers and truck campers and RVers who don't have propane heat source, we decided to go with a diesel heater. So we decided to go with the MaXpeedingrods 5K 12 volt diesel heater all in one unit. And in today's video, I want to talk about why we chose this unit in particular and kind of what we think so far, both in the positive and the negative. I'll leave a link to this one on Amazon. We were able to pick it up for $200, which that's one of the reasons why we went this direction in the first place, is we were looking at comparable units, and you could go all the way up to $2,000 looking at the S-bars out there versus a $200 Chinese diesel heater. This brand in particular, the main reason we ended up going with it is because it has an altitude sensor. So for many people that's maybe a non-issue at all anyway, but we like going up to the Colorado mountains, and even starting our generator when we need it is really difficult because of the low oxygen levels at 10,000 feet. And so I forget exactly what altitude this one is rated to, but I'll put it down below. And it's working fabulous so far here. Now, right now we are not up in the mountains. We are in Southern California, outside of San Diego, around 390 meters elevation. So not really that high up. So first I'm going to walk you through the installation process. Now, obviously I already installed this and I didn't film the installation. Honestly, I prefer to just focus on my install when I'm doing it and then show you guys kind of the after effects. But if you have any questions about the install in particular, I'll leave a comment below and I'd be happy to talk to you about it. So let's get started with that. So diesel heaters come in two different flavors. One is the all-in-one unit that you see right here that we purchased, which has the fuel tank, and it also has the heating core built in. This also includes the fuel filter and fuel pump all in one unit. And then you have ones that are completely parted out and separate, where you have just the heater and then you have a separate fuel tank, and you have to actually hook in the fuel lines to the fuel pump and fuel filter and decide where to actually mount those things. And so for simplicity's sake, I decided to go with the all-in-one unit and avoid kind of a hassle of an install. Now, if you're in a small, tight area, going with the smaller unit is probably a better choice. But for us, we had this back ramp area, and we had the ability to just pipe it in right here. So that worked really good for us. And the install was super easy, like really easy. All you had to do was drill 2 holes for the exhaust and for the air intake. And then the hot air that gets blown into the trailer, just put a hole through our back wall here. And also, because I didn't have power running back here, I had to bring a power cord back here. And that was another great thing about this unit in particular, is that it came with a DC to AC kit that you can purchase, which was really cheap. I'll link that below as well. Because I didn't have wires running from the back of the trailer to the front of the trailer, and I didn't really want to take the time to rewire things again. It's just a bit of a hassle after you've already done a build. All right, so here's a look at the 2 hoses. That you can tell the front one up here is the exhaust, and the back one here is the air inlet. And you can see the green hose there is for the fuel. Now, a lot of people say that green hose isn't good, it's cheap, it's going to fall apart. But if it's already in the all-in-one unit right now, I'm just going to rock it and see what happens. Now, it's a little hard to tell right here, but I did cut those holes, especially for the exhaust in particular, much bigger than the exhaust. And then I used a high temp silicone, which is kind of that red stuff that you see oozing out. And the thinking being there that it should help prevent the wood from getting too hot, and I'll get to that a little bit later. All right, this is a look at the underside where I put those 2 holes, and you can see there them coming out with a bunch of that high temp red silicone around there. You also see that I wrapped the muffler and the exhaust coming out in a fiberglass sheathing, exhaust sheathing, which actually comes with the kit. It's not the highest quality of fiberglass, but it does the trick. And then the air intake I put over here. Now I did notice kind of one issue with the air intake, and that's, you can see that it's pointed directly towards those tires there, which isn't a problem that's facing forward because we're not going to run this while we're actually on the road driving. However, that tire is probably going to kick a bunch of mud at it, so I'm probably going to end up reversing that around so it's pointing the other direction. The key is to get the exhaust pipe and the air intake pointed in separate directions, and that's what we've done here. For this next section, I want to get into some considerations with diesel heaters in general, this one in particular, starting with just general considerations. This is probably not a good unit if you are in a small van, and that's in part because the size of it, and also the fuel pump is in here, so you're going to hear that tick, tick, tick. Now, we don't hear it too much because it's technically kind of outside of our living space, and this wall back here is insulated, so it's sound dampening, and if the fan is on with that, you really don't hear it at all. Not that the fan's loud unless it's really on high setting, but I would not have that in a van at all. And I'm going off my cheat sheet here, guys, because there's so many different things to cover. So fuel consumption, this is not the most economical unit out there. So this diesel heater in particular is 0.16 to 0.48 liters per hour, which translates to 0.04 to 0.1 gallons per hour, which you can find more efficient heaters out there. We chose not to go that direction because the number one thing for us was that altitude sensor, and there's not many of those heaters out there that have the altitude sensor. There are some out there that allow you to actually program the fuel to air ratio, but this one automatically senses the altitude you're at and adjusts that, so you don't have, it's one less thing to think about. You have so many things to think about in this lifestyle. Simplicity is key. So we also find that the small fuel tank lasts us around 12 to 15 hours. So that's one downside with this unit, and the all-in-one units, is that you have a small fuel tank compared to the other units that have them separate, and what you can do with that as well. So that 12 to 15 hours is because we run this for 2 hours at a time. So we run it in the morning for 2 hours, and we run it in the evening for 2 hours. And that means that we're bringing the trailer from a pretty cold temperature up to about 70 degrees. So anywhere between 40 to 50 degrees inside, up to 70 degrees. We get to 70 degrees, let it sit there for a little bit, and then we turn it off. We're insulated, it stays pretty warm for quite a while, and then we're under the covers that night, so it doesn't bother us at all if it gets a little cold again. Then we have it come on in the morning before we actually get up out of bed. So it works great for us. If you actually were to have this thing run continuously, go from cold to like just staying at a certain temperature where it drops down in its fuel consumption, you can definitely go longer than 15 hours. That's just not how we're having to use it while we're here, because it's not Colorado mountain cold in Southern California. So that's where we're at with that. The all-in-one units, I think they all have their temperature sensor in the unit and not in the actual remote. Because I've noticed that if you set it on auto, it will cook you out. It gets so hot so quickly in there. So there's no way that the remote that's inside is actually controlling, telling it what temperature it is inside, which is a bummer, because that means you actually have to go into the app and like tell it, like, no, turn down to like 50 degrees, and that keeps it at 70 degrees inside, because it's probably not 70 degrees back here in this area, because this is not insulated, hence the insulated wall I built. But that brings me to some of the good things about this heater, and one of them is that Bluetooth app. that you can actually program this guy to come on and off at certain times of the day. It's kind of, if this happens, then you do this type of programming built into it, which is great. It's very flexible. We haven't been able to set that up properly yet because you have to reset the unit after pairing it to do it, and I just have been fine waking up and turning it on. It hasn't been a problem for me, but the app's very easy to use. The power consumption was a big draw to this. So this guy uses 78 watts on startup for about 5 to 7 minutes, and that's to heat the glow plug. And then it drops down to 28 watts on the setting 2, or gear 2 they call it, out of 5. So it's a low setting. And then once you've reached temperature, I turn it down to the lowest gear, which is gear 1, and bring the temperature down a little bit to hold us at 70 degrees inside. And that surprisingly brought it down to like 1 watt of power draw, which is just outstanding. I mean, for context here, our mini split heat pump was 900 to 600 watts of power when we're up in the mountains to heat. So being able to use the diesel in this case and not draw from our battery bank at night or in the early morning before the sun's come up is really, really clutch. And then the price, I mean, $200 versus $2,000, and that's putting in context for ones that have altitude sensors that adjust things automatically, like the S-Bar and Webasto units, which I've heard also don't do that great of a job of adjusting, actually, from some of the reviews that I've read. So we'll see. We're going to put this guy to the test this next year, going back up into the mountains in Colorado. We want to stay much longer in the mountains next year. And so we'll see if it really does automatically adjust and work, and we'll keep you guys posted on that. Actually did a temperature IR gun test during the cold and startup over the course of about 30 minutes, testing all the different components. So testing how hot this air inlet gets, testing how hot the exhaust gets in here, how hot the wood gets around that exhaust, and then testing the same components on the outside. And the takeaway from all of it is it's well within a very safe range. And if I ever get to the point where I feel like it's not safe, or if I smell anything weird, or I notice any charring, I definitely will uninstall the unit because it's so easy to uninstall, and drill it bigger and put a metal sheathing around it. But I tested it both with the ramp closed and down, both when it's been warm outside and cold outside, and everything seems up to spec to me. So would we buy this heater again? Absolutely. I mean, for the price, for the features on it, for how insanely hot this guy gets, absolutely would buy it again. So easy to install, highly recommend it. And I'll definitely do an update video if any of that changes, and I'll definitely do a video probably next winter when we're spending more time in the mountains, when we really put it to its test. But for now, thank you guys for watching. Just a reminder, it's completely free to you to give us support, and all you gotta do is give us a thumbs up and subscribe, and let us know below if you have any questions on the install itself, if you're considering a diesel heater or you already have one, what you went with and why. I mean, no one unit is perfect for everyone. This one just happens to meet our needs. So until next time, guys, take it easy. Cheers.